Hello, good afternoon. My name is Jay Vercade, and I'm here to introduce you to the study of flags, which is also known as vexillium or vexillius, which you may desire to be. It comes from the Latin word vexillum, which means either a sail or a flag. Where do flags come from? How did they originate? How did ours come to be? That's what we're going to see. And behind us, I have the show of our national flags in its procession of timeline, and I also have our military service flags in their procession of timeline. Also, preceding the military flags, you'll see a commander-in-chief flag. That belonged to George Washington as long as he was commander-in-chief during the Revolutionary War. First flag that you see here in the military line is the flag of the Commander-in-Chief, General George Washington. This flag accompanied him in the Continental Army wherever he went. When he was present, the flag was present. If you notice the flag, it's a little different than today's flag. The star arrangement has 6 points. We're going to visit the 6-point flag, a star flag, a little bit later. It's going to come up into one of our first national flags. But just let it be known that this is the flag of the general. And after that, we're going to go down the military flags in order of their arrangement. And the first one we're going to come to is United States Army, 1775. Congress has issued that date as its birth date. Next in line will come the Marine Corps. Marine Corps has a birthday every year, November 10th. United States Marine Corps, 1775. After the Marine Corps, the Navy was commissioned. United States Navy. Of course, the Marine Corps was is a department of the Navy, and later on we'll show you it's the first Marine flag that the Continental Marines used as they boarded the ships. Next in line, United States Air Force, commissioned. Next, well, not really the next one, but a part of the Air Force now is the Space Force. Space Force is doing with technology, and it uses satellites, and it does all kinds of cool stuff out in outer space that we'll never see and hopefully never have to, but you have to be a part of the Air Force to get into the Space Force. 1790, the Coast Guard is born, and here's the Coast Guard flag. This is known as a battle jack, flag of the United States Navy that was used prior to the flag we saw up there. It was in 1775. It was used by the naval forces under Commodore Essex Hopkins. He was the first United States naval commander. He was a Commodore Admiral, and he held the same rank that George Washington would have held, but he held it for the naval forces. After that comes the Continental Marine flag, the Gadsden flag. That's more its popular name. The first commissioned Marines were about, I think, 300 men. There were about 60. There were about, I think, 60 on the 5 different ships, something like that. But this is the Continental Marine flag, and of course at the end, it's seen a little bit of wear and tear, so maybe that's not so bad. But we have the POW Missing in Action flag, and we try to remember with reverence all those who served and didn't come home. The paper that I'm holding is a flag of the British Royal Navy. The oldest known flag was known as the Red Duster. It's a battle jack, or the flag of the Navy, that was flown in the early 1600s. There is reference to it even earlier. If you notice, this field here is known as the King's Colors. It is in the superordinate position, the top right of the speaker's right, facing you. It's your left, but the flag's right. Every flag that we're going to be visiting has a superordinate position. The national flag always takes superordinate. Every other flag takes subordinate. Just remember those two words, superordinate, subordinate. And the flags are hanging in their proper positions, and we'll explain that. But when you see it, it's going to be the viewer's left, but the speaker's right. Now, what do those crosses resemble? Well, the red cross is the cross of St. George, and the background red and white cross is the cross of St. Andrew, Scotland, and the white, I believe, is Wales. So it represents the United Kingdom. This flag will be a template for the next flag we're going to visit, which is known as the flag of the Grand Union. The flag of the Grand Union. The flag of the Grand Union was the flag first used by General George Washington in a Continental Army. It has 13 red and white stripes. These stripes represent the 13 colonies. Back then, they still considered themselves subjects to the crown. You will see the King's Colors in the upper right-hand corner. Of course, now, when the flag is hanging down, the superordinate position for the colored field is always to its own right. If I was speaking, I'd be in front of the flag. I'd be to the left of the superordinate position, because nothing goes to the right of it. Everything goes to the left of it. Of course, the viewer's right. All right? So, the flag of the Grand Union will last about 2 years and be confused in battle. Something needs to be done. What is to be done? We'll visit our next flag. Francis Hopkinson. Francis Hopkinson was the Secretary of the Navy, the first Secretary of the Navy. He was the first one to have a flag designed. It wasn't Betsy Ross, but it was Francis Hopkinson. And he will take George Washington's six-pointed star, the Commander-in-Chief flag, and that will be the field that you see here. Of course, he still keeps the 6 points. This flag has currently on record the bill of receipt that Francis Hopkinson received, so it is historically accurate. This is the flag that was flown by the Continental Army when they entered battle. This differentiated the difference between and took away the confusion, the American and the British forces on the battlefield. Our next flag we're going to visit is called the Betsy Ross flag. What's interesting about the Betsy Ross flag is there is no paperwork or any authorization by Congress as there is for the Francis Hopkinson flag. Betsy Ross flag will be the first flag designed with 5-point stars. There's 13 stars in that rotation. So I guess we might as well say tradition says it's the circle is eternal. There's no beginning, there's no end. You have 13 stars. And the interesting part is in the year 1876, the first centennial, Betsy Ross's nephew, then an old man, will tell the story of how his aunt was met by George Washington in her house and commissioned to design a flag. this flag will not find even any mention in any historical writing that can be found on the battlefield, but the Hopkinton flag will. What's interesting enough that, according to Mr. Canby, and I'll show you later if we have time, Betsy Ross is commissioned by Washington to make the five-pointed star change because she's a seamstress and she knows how to do it by taking pieces of scrap cloth to make the stars with one snip of her snippers, which is, back then, a cost saving. So supposedly the flag would be made with less cost. Our next flag we have if you notice a change in stripes, there's 15 stripes on here. There's 15 stars. This is the flag that will be flown over Fort McHenry, September 13th to the 14th. And I believe that was 1813. Mm-hmm. And this flag will be known as Old Glory. It's getting a little confusion now, but we're going to go back to 13 stripe because can you imagine adding a stripe for every state that comes into the Union? It's amazing. The flag would be forever. We'd never get the width of it. So Congress has decided that every flag will have the same dimension, regardless how long, how big, whatever. It has the same geometric proportions, and the stars will be representing for each state. This happens to be the 49th state. Does anybody remember when it was? It was the shortest time of duration. It was Alaska. So Alaska will be, I believe, 1958. And who designed the flag, we're going to talk about him, is going to be a Boy Scout named Robert G. Heft. I don't believe he was a Boy Scout at the time. He may have been, but he was a Scout. He loved his flag, and he had an assignment from his school teacher when his junior year. History teacher wanted everyone in the class to make a project of the importance of history. He decided, he knew that there was going to be a new state, and he knew that Alaska was coming in and Hawaii was coming in. So he decided, I'm going to design a flag for the star rotation. So he added for the 49th star and the 50th star. Well, his teacher didn't think much of the project and gave him a B-. Well, Robert was very upset and he complained about it. And the teacher made a joke with him. He said, well, if Congress ever approves your method or your design for a flag, I guess I'll change it to an A. 2 years later, Robert gets a call from General Eisenhower, who then is president, and says, Robert, we want to use your design for the flag. Robert quickly hangs up the phone. He runs back to school. He's already working in a job. He's graduated from school. He says to his teacher, I want my A. The teacher begrudgingly changes his mark to an A. Didn't help Robert anyway because he was already graduated, but for the rest of his life, Robert had the honor of signing, the only person ever to design the flag and sign his name. And he would always sign his name in the white border, which you can't see on the top. So if you've got it, you can find the flags today with his signature on it. That's a collector's item. So Robert G. Heft. So for you Boy Scouts and for you other Scouters, encourage your boys to take out citizenship in the community, in the nation. You never know where it goes to and where their interests are. We move now to the 50th star. Of course, another design by Heft. By the way, which is interesting, is Robert was 17 years old when he designed that flag. There were other people who also designed The same design that Robert did, but because he was 17 and the youngest, he was given the credit for it. So it doesn't really matter how old or how young you are, but also Robert knew um, his House of Representative person, and he's the one who went down and he begged his representative, please take it to Washington and see what you can do for me, and it worked out for him. This is our 50th star. We want to move down to our next 50th star. This is a ragged flag. Now, it needs retirement. Matter of fact, it almost looks like it was in the War of 1812. We're going to have a flag retirement at our closing campfire, and you're all going to be a participant in it. The next flag, remember, these are all flags hanging in their superordinate position. The next flag is in the subordinate position. It's a state flag. It just happened, I grabbed the New Jersey flag. All state flags will go to the left of our national flags. All service flags will go to the left. And after them, any other flags will go to the left. How do we salute a flag? We're going to show you shortly with, say, a patrol flag or another subordinate flag. So we'll do that in a little bit, and then we're going to talk about the history of the flags. So as we wrap this up, I just have a question for you. Where do flags come from? Flags are as old as man has been around. Flags have been used by the Samaritans, who carried them into battle and carried them to identify themselves. The Samaritans had what they called flying dragons. They used a dragon. Those members that were on horses would carry them, and they would be flying in the breeze. The Romans did not use flags, but they used what they call the standards. The standard, or the flag, was often used in military to tell the units apart, to identify the units, to give the units their identity, also used for signaling. The most common and the most prestigious part in the Roman standards was the eagle. The eagle would be on top, and the 10th Legion was the most famous for with its eagle. Look at our flag now again, one more time. Look at the stars as they position themselves. Where are you? What star are you? That union unites us as one people. Each star, remember, from the right to the left is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that's how it goes. If you're from Delaware, you're number 1. If you're from Pennsylvania, you're number 2. If you're from New Jersey, you're number 3. Each one, every living person, regardless of where you are and what state you are, you're represented by that star. You each have a position on our national unity. What does the blue field represent? It represents liberty. It unites us as one people. Each stripe is one state. So, my only advice is respect the flag. Those people in the back row, the service, they give their lives, they give their fortunes, and they give their sacred honor to defend each and every one of us. It's not enough to say thank you for your service. It's not enough.